it's Ashley, and today I'm going to make a layout. So I'm using this picture of Evie Gray. It was one I put on Instagram, and the first thing I do is grab that typewriter stamp that came in the January kit from Coco Daisy. I like that typewriter icon because to me it just fits in with storytelling, and I think that's what every layout should be. It should tell a story. So I don't think it has to be, represent a letter or an event of writing or anything. I think just using it as a awesome icon on a page is totally works. So I kind of line it up with the edge of the photo and place it a little bit above it. Kind of thinking about my page in kind of quadrants right now, and thinking about them and being diagonally opposed quadrants on my page. And then I've taken one of the layered bits from crepe paper and just sort of trying it out on the page. And I think that if I heat emboss, there we go, the heart speech bubble in bright pink, like it's like being spoken or coming out of the typewriter, that'll be kind of cute. I just kind of grab embellishments and put them down on the page and see whether or not they work, and if they don't work, I take them off. It's just a good way to try things out. I think I like a little color or something underneath the typewriter to kind of ground it or anchor it. So I use some neon pink mist and just spray on a little bit. And I sprayed on a little bit too much, so you can just sort of pat it off. I didn't really mean to make it go on the side of the typewriter like that. But in the end, I liked the way it looked. So that's always nice when something works out and you like it. So I'm going to cut out a heart out of paper, and sometimes I have a really hard time cutting into paper, and then I tell myself, it's just paper, and you have lots and lots and lots more paper. You've got too much paper. So sometimes it's just nice just to cut into a piece of paper. So I've cut out two little hearts, well actually one little one and one big one, and stuck it on top of the page. I'm not really entirely sure if those are going to stay. Spoiler, they do end up staying. But they're not glued down, so I can just move them around. So this sheet of vellum tape stickers from Basic Gray is pretty cool. I have never had these before. This is my first time with vellum tape. And they're pretty awesome. They have a really great translucent kind of quality. They feel really nice, and it was really easy to hold them up to my page and see whether or not I liked the way they looked. And if I didn't like it, I just take it back on and save it for later. So I'm just trying to find a color or a pattern right now that kind of works with what's already going on the page, because a lot of the colors are just kind of too yellowy, I think, because my photo is kind of yellowy. It's just not really working. Okay, so then I decide to handwrite the title. I usually don't like to do this kind of thing because I'm afraid of messing up, but I decided just to go for it because I didn't think it would look too bad. So I just used some mist and I thinned it out with some water and just start painting on with a sort of a fine point watercolor brush. And I'm going to call it Dear Baby. So it's kind of got that letter kind of like theme, and also kind of like, because she's cute, so she's dear. So if you want to try this, just keep adding water to your mist just to kind of keep it nice and fluid, and wiggle your brush around on whatever you're using for a tray a little bit to kind of move the paint around. And when it seems nice and fluid and watery, you can go for it. And then the nice thing about using mist, or you could use watercolor, it would look almost identical to this, is that if it's a little bit light to start with, it's really easy to go back and add in more. So it's also a really good way to correct any little mistakes. You can just go back in and paint over, and it will just give it that kind of painterly kind of look. If you try to use acrylic paint for this, it's going to look a lot more opaque, and you're not going to get that nice kind of layered sort of looking effect. Alright, so put the paper hearts back. Now that I've added the title, they don't really fit the way I had them before, so I'm going to have to try a couple things to get them to work up there. Again, with the tape strips, when I'm working on a layout, I just try out things. I hold them up, I put them down, and if I don't like them, I just take them off again. So I keep sort of trying underneath the typewriter, around the title, and right underneath the photo seem to be places that really need something. So this sheet has little reinforcements stickers on it, kind of like the ones you put around, you know, like a tag or a sheet of paper in a binder. And I used the little holes as kind of confetti polka dots across the top of the page because the color is really similar to the mist that I used for the title. So try something besides a photo, and my problem here is that I feel like, because it's just like the back of her head and the photo cut off the side of her face, that almost anything I put there kind of looks like part of her face. So I keep trying stuff there and having a hard time finding something. So again, here I am with another long skinny embellishment, trying to fit it in underneath the typewriter or the photo and not quite thinking it's quite right. So there's the tag again, and it still doesn't really seem to work because it makes me feel like it's part of the photo or infringing on the photo, even with an embellishment on it. I still feel like it's not right for beside the photo. Right, then I think maybe if I mat the photo and some paper, it might help. And sometimes when I'm thinking about using some paper on a layout, I just stick it under the layout so I can kind of like keep it there and sort of see the way it looks. So instead of the tag, I decided just to go right for it and heat emboss some of those heart speech bubbles, kind of randomly distributed around the bottom of the page. So if you try this, if you kind of like get down on level with whatever you're stamping, so I'm actually like crouched down beside the table when I'm stamping right now, even though you can't see the ink, you can see that it's shiny and wet on the page, so you can kind of get an idea of where you should be stamping so they're not all like stacked on top of each other or whatever. But even so, it doesn't always work out perfectly well. My pattern's not perfect, but it's okay. And I fill in the hearts with some more green ink. Just kind of paint them on, start out light and add more if you need more. Right, so I feel like that little empty spot looks really obvious, and so I'm trying to draw a heart that looks like the heart inside the speech bubble, and it takes me a couple of tries, but I eventually get something that's like good enough. Just draw it on, erase. There we go. Okay. And then again, I'm just using that same mist that I've used, and I'm going to paint this one in a little darker, so it just looks a little different than the rest. Different, but the same-ish. Same-ish. Alright, now I'm going to cut out one of the hearts because I felt like it just needed a little bit of detail down there or something. And I decided I'm going to cut out one, and if I like it, I might cut out all the rest, or I might just leave it. And if you want to try cutting out something small, I'm just using like a big chunky box cutter because I find it easier to hold than sometimes the ones that are shaped like more like a pencil. Just go really slowly around the tight little curves so you don't tear the paper. And it might take a couple tries like it took me, but it'll cut out eventually. So then I take that paper that I had earlier and stick it behind the cutout heart to add a little bit of color. And then I take the cutout heart and put it on top of the other hearts and end up putting it over the painted heart because there's a layered paper cutout heart at the top, and now there's one on the bottom of the page, so there's like some sort of similarities. I like to repeat elements like that, but sometimes make them a little different. So there. Just glue them down. I like tacky glue. Right. So more tape sticker because I really did want to use them on this layout because I really liked them. And again, it's those kind of three same spots on the page. So I made a little envelope out of paper, just folded it up and glued it on, and now there's a chipboard piece again in the same couple of spots, and I decide just to stick it down underneath the envelope. And I didn't actually push it down very hard because I thought I could still move it now if I want to try it in one of the other two spots. So the tag that didn't work beside the photo, I just tuck in under it, and I like the little bit of layering and the way it fills in the bottom corner of the page a little bit. So I'm going to write my journaling directly on the page, and I'm using pencil. I always use pencil because sometimes I always make mistakes. So I don't expect it to be perfect, but I don't want like when I just write like totally the wrong word. it's nice to be able to erase it. So then I realized I have to do what I always have to do and pencil in some really light little pencil lines. You can't even see them, I don't think. That's how light they are. I don't use a ruler, I just sort of estimate. And then I just pencil in the journaling. And when I'm done, I'll write over it I like a Sakura marker in black, a nice 5.1, and erase the pencil. So there is my layout, dear baby.